A deadly turn of events sparking even more distrust between the FBI and a group of angry militiamen in rural Oregon. One rancher killed and conflicting eyewitness accounts adding fuel to the fire in the nearly month-long armed standoff. Tonight, questions about how this will end. Here's ABC's Neil Karlinski.
Authorities said it was supposed to be a careful and peaceful traffic stop, but instead it ended in the shooting death of Robert Lavoy Finicum, a rancher turned militia spokesman. A takedown that also left the leaders of his group handcuffed on the ground. Tonight, the scene is turned into a rallying cry for the armed occupiers at a remote wildlife refuge here who took over this land in early January. They're calling Lavoy a hero in the Patriot movement, his picture now spreading online. Wrongfully taken out, they say, by overly aggressive law enforcement.
I believe Lavoy Finicum was murdered.
The FBI and local police won't explain how it all happened or even name Finicum as the man killed by police gunfire.
I'm disappointed that a traffic stop yesterday that was supposed to bring peaceful resolution to this ended badly.
But one alleged eyewitness says he was just walking with his hands in the air.
He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want to shoot. And they did. They shot him dead.
In an audio interview posted to YouTube, Victoria Sharp, seen here in this video shot by ABC News earlier this month at the refuge, says she was in the car with Finicum when it all went down.
He was just walking with his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. And then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.
But like so much in this bizarre occupation, the story is not so clear. Yet another alleged witness says Finicum wasn't executed.
He charged after law enforcement. He was not on his knees. He was not none of that. He was none of that nonsense. You know, that was a miscommunication.
One of the occupiers, Pete Santilli, live streamed his approach to the FBI blockade after he heard that shots had been fired.
If they've taken Ammon into custody, okay, it's time for, there's women and children up there, okay? There's women and children. We need to go get them out.
He was then taken into custody.
Now they're surrounding us.
There's no firearms in the car, sir. Please don't aim the rifle.
Sir, no one's aiming a rifle.
We're asking you to move back. This is a perimeter now. You need to move back.
From the beginning, police have found this strange standoff challenging, fearing a bloodbath if they moved in too quick.
Anytime you have people dug in that are armed, and that they are making certain demands and are saying they're not going to leave until they get those demands, you've now set up a dynamic where there's a potential for violence, obviously. So is there a way to back out of that?
While we still don't know the details of the deadly traffic stop, Finicum himself almost seemed to predict that tensions were about to escalate in an interview just posted by the Oregonian on YouTube.
The tenor has changed. They have become more hardened. They're doing all the things that shows that they want to take some kinetic action against us. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
But tonight, the area is on lockdown, now sealed off by heavily armed FBI SWAT teams at roadblocks 8 miles out, as we found out when approaching.
You need to go back out and stay outside that sign, please.
Okay, we'll do. Well, those guys meant business.
In all, 8 key members of the occupation are now under arrest, facing a federal charge of conspiracy to impede U.S. officers by use of force. And Ammon Bundy, the leader of the occupation, is among those now in FBI custody. In a surprise move tonight, his lawyer called for an end to the standoff.
Right now, I'm asking the federal government to allow the people at the refuge to go home without being prosecuted.
Words he says Bundy wanted him to share.
To those remaining at the refuge, I love you. Let us take this fight from here. Please stand down.
But the circumstances of Finicum's death could be making the occupiers nervous.
They told us that we could safely leave. Well, the group that was leaving has a dead man in it, so it depends on what you believe.
The standoff began in early January when several dozen militiamen, led by Bundy and Finicum, took over the remote refuge when no one was there.
This refuge here is rightfully owned by the people. And we intend to use it
Bundy said his group was fighting for the return of thousands of square miles of federal land to ranchers like him, and fighting for freedom for 2 other ranchers convicted of lighting fires on federal land.
I'm going to jail for 5 years for 127. Seems like a bit of an overkill.
When we first visited the compound, despite the fact that many were armed, it was seemingly peaceful and law enforcement was keeping their distance.
This is the sanctuary they've taken over. You can see their guard tower in the distance over there. And here you really don't see a lot of presence at all. And they have gasoline, actually, fuel pumps for their vehicles.
Inside, bunks the militia members slept on, a woman preparing meals. At the time, ranchers were pleading for others to join their cause.
We need you to get here and stand with us. Whether you're armed or unarmed, you get up here.
Finicum, a grandfather of 19, had traveled here from Arizona and said he was from a long line of ranchers.
Their livelihood is being threatened, their economic ability to ranch is being squeezed, and they're being squeezed out. Their way of life, generational.
Lavoie had been in trouble with authorities before, joining rancher Cliven Bundy in a 2014 face-off with federal agents over cattle grazing rights. And when I met him, he told me he was willing to die for the cause.
Well, how did we get this freedom in the first place? Was it not people who gave their life to us? Was it not a great gift, a great sacrifice? It certainly was. You love your wife, you love your kids, you give them a hug, and if I see him on the flip side, I see him on the flip side.
Today, there's growing concern that Finicum will become a martyr for extremist groups. Many of his supporters voicing their anger all over the internet. Nevada Assembly member Michelle Fiore tweeted her support for Finicum, referring to his death as a murder. My heart and prayers go out to Lavoie Finicum's family. He was just murdered with his hands up in Burns, Oregon. Ryan Bundy has been shot in the arm. And the coming days may be critical in how all this gets resolved.
I think what the government does not want to do is get into an excessive force situation where they basically raid this refuge and physically remove people who are armed who may well try to shoot at them, which will probably result in them getting shot.
Yes, what's going on, everybody? This is Young Byron with Young Byron Music. This is a new channel, so please like and subscribe and comment. I just wanted to let y'all know that it's sad that this had to happen, but the protesters and the people should have stayed down and should have went home and listened to the police, because this all started in early January. And it seemed like the guy that they were just talking about seemed like he's getting a lot of support from social media. But I think these people should have listened and went home. But give me your thoughts and comments, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.